Losing a person or opportunity that seemed perfect means God saw something you didn't. What if I told you that the loss you're feeling right now isn't the end of your story, but the beginning of something bigger? I know it doesn't feel that way. Right now it feels like everything is falling apart, like the person you lost, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers, or the thing you prayed so hard to keep just disappeared without reason. And it hurts. It makes you question everything. You replay every moment wondering what you could have done differently, how you could have held on just a bit tighter. But what if I told you that you didn't lose? That what feels like an ending is really just a shift, a painful one, but a necessary one. What if I told you that this wasn't happening to you, but for you? That God saw something you didn't, and this loss is actually leading you to something greater. There can be a lot of pain when letting go, because as humans, we don't like to lose. We don't like change, especially when it's forced upon us. When something or someone is removed from our lives, we immediately go into survival mode. We either fight to get it back, or we fall into despair, not able to understand why it had to be taken away in the first place. That's normal. You invested time, energy, love, and hope into that relationship, that friendship, that dream, and now it's gone, and you're left standing there with empty hands wondering why. Why did this have to happen? Why now? Why me? And we start to assume that if something leaves our lives, it means we must have done something wrong. That maybe if we were better, or tried harder, or held on longer, things would have turned out differently. But here's something you need to understand. Not everything is meant to stay. Some people are only meant to walk with you for part of your journey. Some situations are only meant to last for a season. And some doors have to close so that better ones can open. Now, all this sounds easy, but it doesn't make the pain any less real. I understand that. It doesn't take away the sleepless nights, the aches in your chest, or even the memories that come flooding back at the most unexpected moments. But here's the harsh truth. Just because something was good, or at the very least seemed good, doesn't mean it was meant to last forever. And just because you don't understand it now, doesn't mean it wasn't necessary. But have faith and have comfort knowing this. God saw what you couldn't. I want you to imagine this, like really try to imagine this. You're walking down a path, and up ahead there's danger, a cliff, a pit, something that could hurt you, but you can't see it. Here's the thing, God can. And so he does something that makes no sense to you. He redirects you. He takes someone out of your life. He removes you from a situation. He shuts a door. To you, in the moment, it feels cruel. It feels like punishment. But in reality, he just saved you from something you never even knew was coming. Our minds are finite. We only have a small view of our lives. We make decisions based on what we see, or what we feel, or even what we think is best. But God, he can see the entire picture. He knows what's coming. He knows what's ahead. So when something or even someone is removed from your life, it's not because you're being punished. It's because you're being protected. Maybe that person wasn't meant to be in your future. Maybe that opportunity would have led you down the wrong path. Maybe that dream you were chasing wasn't big enough for what God actually has in store for you. Maybe you were settling for something small when God had something greater planned all along. If you don't remember anything I've said in this video, remember this. Rejection is often redirection. That job you didn't get, maybe it was leading you away from where you were actually meant to be. That person that walked away, maybe they were only meant to be a part of your story for a while. That dream that didn't work out, maybe it was just a stepping stone to something even bigger. But when you're in the middle of the pain, it's hard to see it that way. It just feels like a loss. And that's why trust is so important. Because trusting God isn't about understanding everything in the moment. It's about believing that even in the loss, even in the confusion, even when nothing makes sense, he's still leading you somewhere good. And I know that letting go is hard, but holding on can be much worse. If you've ever tried holding on to something that was already slipping away, then you know it's exhausting. but we always find ourselves doing it. We hold on to people who have already let go of us. We cling to relationships that no longer bring us peace. We even chase after things that are no longer meant for us. Why? Because as humans, we often think we know what's best. But what if the very thing you're trying so hard to hold on to is actually what's keeping you from receiving something better? Imagine trying to hold on to a handful of sand, and no matter how tightly you squeeze, it still slips through your fingers. But what if, instead of fighting to keep what's slipping away, you opened your hands and let it go? What if, instead of chasing what's leaving, you started to trust what's coming? Because here's the thing. God never removes without reason, and he never takes away something without the intention of replacing it with something better. If you've experienced the loss, you're gonna want to heal. And the truth is, healing takes time, and you're allowed to grieve. You're allowed to feel the pain. You're allowed to cry over what was and what used to be. But don't stay there. Don't let a loss turn into bitterness. Don't let any heartbreak make you hard. Instead, let it make you better. Let it make you wiser, and let it deepen your faith. Because one day, you're going to look back at this moment and realize something. This wasn't the end, it was the beginning. The person who walked away, they made room for something better. The opportunity you lost, it led you to something greater. The painful ending, it was actually divine redirection. And when that day comes, you're going to see it clearly. You'll understand why it had to happen, and you'll be grateful that you didn't settle for what you thought was best, because what God had in store for you was so much greater. The next chapter is waiting for you. So take a deep breath, wipe any tears you have, calm your anxiety, and trust that your story isn't over yet. Yes, this chapter probably hurt. Yes, the loss was real, but there is something still more ahead for you. Something greater, something better, something worth every bit of pain you're feeling right now. And when you get there, you'll understand why God had to take you through this. So keep going, keep trusting, keep believing, because what's coming next for you is going to be more beautiful than you ever could have imagined. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, stay humble, be blessed, and keep going.